Hello and welcome back to our Microsoft Access series. In the previous lesson, we learned how to insert, select, update, and delete data. In today's tutorial, we are going deeper into SQL operators and database keys, tools that will help you to filter data in a smart way and also link tables together. So, without wasting much of our time, let's get started. So, we'll start by discussing what operators are. So operators in SQL, they help us to filter and compare data. So we have two main types of operators. We have comparison operators and logical operators. So examples of comparison operators, we have between and like. And examples of logical operators, we have and or. Okay, we have and, or, not. So we explore each of these in real examples. So now, here are some of the examples or symbols and their meaning when we're talking about comparison operators. So we have the equal sign, we have not equal to, greater than, less than, and so on and so forth. So all these are some of the examples of comparison operators. So now, let's move on. So we'll first start by discussing a between operator. Okay, so first up, we're starting with between. So this operator helps us to select values within the range. Okay, this operator right here will help us to select the values within the range. Let's say we want a student, maybe let's say students are the age between maybe 20 and 25. So let's see how the query can look like. Right. So let's go to our database, okay, which you have been working on. Okay. So this is our database. Right. So now let's say we want, students the age between 22 and 26. Okay. 22 and 26. So what can we do? So now let's see how the between operator can help us to do that. Okay, so as we always do, we need to close the table. Okay, and then go and create, then query design, then we open in SQL view. So now the next thing we need to do, we need to see how this operator will help us. Okay, so we start with the keyword select. So now we are selecting everything. Okay, if you remember from the previous lesson, so select everything from students, right? So select everything from students where, so this is a condition, right? This is a condition. So where age, we can say between, where age between 22 and 26, right? So notice that here we're using select everything. Okay, so this means that we are selecting all the columns. Okay, so we're selecting all the columns. So now what we do is that let me run this command and see what this command will do. Okay, so again, we said the age between 22 and 26. Okay, so let's just go back. Let's just go back. Okay, so here we need to finish with a semicolon, though it works, but we need to maintain the rules. Okay, we need to finish off with the semicolon. Okay, so now we said age between 22 and 26. So we run our command. So you can see we have 24, 22, 23, and 26. Okay, so this is how you can basically use between operator. Okay, which will just help us to select values within a range. So here we have selected values within our range. Okay, so this are some of the ways you can use a between operator. Okay, so now moving on, we have what we call like, right? So like operator is great for searching patterns. Okay, so this operator right here, it is great. It is very great for searching patterns. So as you can see of some of the wildcards, the description of this, and some of the examples right here you can see. Okay, so you need to know that in Access, we basically use asterisks instead of using ampersand. Okay, we use asterisks, which is just a wildcard. Okay, but other databases use um, ampersand, but in Access we'll be using asterisks. Right. So now, what do these um, symbols? What do these symbols or wildcards, so to say, what do these wildcards do? So you can see that this wildcard basically it is a sign used as a substitute for a zero or more characters. They have given us an example here. So we have a salary. They are saying salary, right? Salary like ampersand then 5. So this means that the records with salary values that end, okay, that end with 5. Since 5 is in front, so that end with 5. So this database will basically display all the values that end with 5. Right. So this is what this ampersand basically uh, means, so to say, right? So we don't care about the records, the first records. We don't care about the numbers, but so long as that record is ending with 5, it will be displayed, right? So now, let's see on how we can basically apply this. Let's say we want to find students who started their program in 2023. Okay, so we want to find students who started their program in 2023. So let me go back in SQL view. Okay, so before we even do that, let me just show you in the table so we see. So here you can see that the students who started their program in 2023, we only have 1, 2, 3. There are about 3. Okay, so now let's assume that we have a huge number of records. Okay, we have billions of records, and we can't do a manual work. Okay, so this is where SQL comes in. So we want to filter. Okay, we want to see the students who started their program in 2023. So we close the table. Okay, so now we start with the same keyword, which is select. So we're selecting everything, right? So we're selecting everything from students. Okay, so we're selecting everything from students. So here we can say where, which is a condition, where seen, right? We say where seen. Then here, so seen, you need to know that seen is a column, right? Seen is a column or a field. So where seen like. Okay, so this is where the like will be used. Then here we can just use quotes. Then we say 2023, right? Where seen like it. Then you say 2023. Okay, so remember what I said earlier. After writing 2023, we need to put now an ampersand, right? We need to put an ampersand. So instead of us using this, okay, so this won't work in Excel. Okay, so this won't work in Microsoft Access, so to say. This won't work. So let's try to run, right? Okay, so we close. Let's try to run. Okay, so it's bring something blank. Even though we have students who started their courses or programs in 2023, but it's bring blank, right? But if we go back again in SQL view, then we remove, then we use asterisk. Okay, so this command, this ampersand and asterisk is one and the same thing. Okay, so in what I say is that in Microsoft Access we use asterisk, right? We're using asterisk. Okay, so now what this means is that we want students who started their program in 2023. Okay, the rest of the dates we don't care. The rest of these we don't care. So once I run this command, you can see that we have students who started their programs in 2023. Okay, so we don't care about these remaining digits here. You can see we have these 4 remaining digits. Okay, so long as we have 2023, then we're good to go. Okay, so that's what that command basically means. Okay, so now that's how you can use asterisks. Okay, that's how you can use asterisks, which is just a wildcard which you can use to filter out what you basically need. Okay, so it has helped us to find students who started their program in 2023. Okay, so and it has basically matched the scene starting with 2023. Okay, so long as this scene is starting with 2023, then it's good to go. Okay, so now let's try to move on. Okay, let's try to move on. We see what else we have. Okay, so we have like. Okay, so we have like. So like continues, right? So now we're still dealing with logical operators, right? We're still dealing with logical operators. So now let's see how like can help us. Let's see how like will help us. So in this case, um, as we said earlier, like basically helped us in selecting or filtering the students who started their programs in 2023. Okay, so there's no need of me uh, showing you other commands. I've already showed you on how we can filter. Okay, so I've already showed you, as you can see, this is what I was talking about. Okay, so here we'll move on. So now we have logic operators, right? So now let's understand logic operators. Okay, so we have what we call AND. Okay, so AND can retain a record only if all conditions are true. So here we have 0, here we have 0 and 0. Okay, so 0 and 0 is false, 0 and 1 is false, 1 and 0 is false, 1 and 1 is true. Okay, so you understand what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so this operator right here will basically return records if all the conditions are true. Okay, but this one, at least one condition must be true. Okay, so now without even confusing you, let's see how these operators will help us. Okay, let's see how these operators will basically help. So In this case, let's say select. So again, we're selecting everything. So select from students, right? So select from students. Then here we say where gender, okay? Where gender equals female. Okay, something like that. Where gender and age equals, we can say 22. Right. And age equals 22. So if both the conditions are true, then this command will run effectively, right? So here what we are telling the database is that we want a field which is having a record female, and we also a field which is having a record 22. So if these two records, female and 22, if these two records exist, if they do exist in the database, then this command will run effectively. Let's try to run this command. Okay. So as you can see, this command doesn't bring anything. Okay. So let's try to verify to check if we do have those commands, right? Those records, so to say. So we go back to this table. So do we have gender female? Yes, we have female. But do we have someone who is female but is 22? No, we don't have. That's the reason why it brought blank. So we have female but is 23 and female is 26. So if we go back again, let me close the table. Okay, so make sure that this query runs. So meaning we only have females who are 23 and 26. So if you say 23, okay, so this condition, at first this condition was true, but this condition for 22 was false. That's the reason why it brought blank. But since we have a female who is 23, this record will run effectively. And let's run this. Okay, so now you can see it has brought a female student, right, who is the age is aged 23 and is a female, right? So this command has been executed successfully. Why? Because both of these conditions are true. Okay, both of the conditions are true. So at first one was false, that's why we didn't get any records. Okay, so hope you get the logic here. And operator only works if both the conditions are true. Okay, so now we move on. Okay, we move on. So now let's look at some of the operators. So let's look at and false statement. So I've already showed you false statement, whereby if one is correct, one is true, then it won't display any values. But now for all statement, it's a different ball game altogether. It's a different ball game altogether. Okay. So now let's look at how all statement works. All right. So this is flexible. It is flexible because it retains records if at least one condition is true. Okay, if at least one condition is true. So that's okay. We are female, right? Yes, it's true. We have in gender, or we have a record female. Do we have 23? Yes, we do. Now let's say, do we have a female by 22 years age? No, we don't have. But still, this command will run success. It will be successively, it will run. Why this command will run? It's because this statement for a female is true, even if we don't have a female who is 22. So long as one of these statements is true, this command will run. So once we run, okay, so it is you can see it is returning none. All right. So now let's just go back to our command and see. Okay. So okay, we're still using and. So we change to O, right? We change to O. So we're using our O operator. So let's run again. Okay. So even if that even if one statement was not was wrong, the other one is correct. It has brought at least females. Okay, well, female, well, also male. Okay, so this is how an or statement or operator works. Okay, just remember that at least one condition must be true. Okay, so now you can ask yourself, what if both statements are true? Okay, what if both statements are true? What will happen? Let's see. Let's find out. So we go back to SQL view. So let's say we also have a female who is 23. So these statements are true. So if we're using or operator and both statements are true, it will bring the entire table. All the records will be displayed. Okay, all the records will be displayed. So let's run. Okay, so both are true. We have 30. So you can see it has brought female students. Okay, so it has brought all the female students, not only one, but all the female students. Okay, so both conditions are true. Okay, so we go back. Okay, so this is how you can basically go about how you can tackle the all operators. Okay, so hope we're still together. So that's how this operator works. So now let's say we say we're selecting everything, right? We're selecting all the columns from this table named students where gender equals female. And what if we say where gender equals female, right? Where gender equals female, then we say 1 or 1 equals 1. Okay, or 1 equals 1. We run. Okay, so this command has brought everything. This command has brought everything. Why? Because all because these conditions, they are true. All the conditions are true. Okay, all the conditions are true. So if we say 1 equals 0, which is false, okay, but this gender equals female is true. Okay, if you want, you can even modify. Let's say where age, here we can put age, right? Where age equals let's say 23 or 26, so to say. Let's say even 22, where age equals 22 or 1 equals 0. Okay, so this statement is correct. Yes, we do have a student who is age of 22, but 1 equals 0, it is false. Still, this command will run because one statement is true. This is true, this is not true, so it will run. That's how or operator works. Okay, so it has effectively brought the records for student age of 22. Okay, but in a case whereby all the conditions are true, as I said earlier, okay, both conditions are true, then everything will be displayed. Everything will be displayed on the table. So this is how we basically use all operators. Okay, so the next video we'll be now focusing on primary keys and foreign keys to see on how we can create two tables. We create a table for students and create a table for results and see how we can link those tables. Okay, so this concept is a key in building you for becoming more efficient and knowing MS Access. So if you enjoy, just leave a like, subscribe, and also don't forget to ring a bell so that next tutorial when I drop it, you can get a notification. Okay. So thanks for watching and see you in the next video.